Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. How are y'all doing today? So here today on Abby the Witch, I am actually going to be discussing some really common assumptions that have been made about me as a witch. For some reason earlier today, I was thinking about all the different times that someone had in one way or another found out that I was a witch or did witchcraft, and how they reacted to that, right? So not necessarily just assumptions that they made, but I've gotten anything from you're going to hell to you're evil to pulling me aside and being like, oh my God, show me what you do. So I've gotten all of that and everything in between. And I'm sure that if you identify as a witch, or even someone who's just, you know, doesn't identify as a witch and maybe just does tarot, or, you know, you've probably gotten assumptions made about you too. I'm going to talk about the assumptions that have been made and brought up to me specifically, but I would love to hear any assumptions that were made of you, or just a funny story about someone who found out that you were a practitioner and how they reacted. I would love to know. So anyway, these are the top assumptions that people who don't practice, who are not part of the occult, made about me after finding out that I'm a witch. Just for the record, most of these to me are just like funny. Like, I don't think it's a huge deal. I don't blame people for making these assumptions. Look, we live in a society that's wrapped up in Christianity, right? Even if you're not a religious person, like, there are a lot of people who still have like a scaffolded Christian mindset without even being aware of it. Like, the thought of someone working with Satan, even if they're not Christian, sounds evil to them. You know, I'll get into it when I list everything off, but I'm just trying to say, like, I get it. I get it if you have not dabbled in any of this before. Like, I feel like it's very human to be curious, intimidated, and even fearful of something you don't know about. But I'm making this video to really encourage people to, yes, of course you're gonna have that first reaction because that's human, but instead of like making these assumptions, to actually like learn before you have an opinion on it. So anyway, here I am. Okay, so the first assumption that I want to talk about is people use witchcraft for evil. I think this one's hilarious because, I mean, how many people do you know as a witch, if you're watching this and you're a witch, how many people who are a witch that you know do witchcraft for evil? No, I don't know anyone who does witchcraft for evil, okay? Even if something that I perceive is wrong or I disagree with, to them it's not evil. I've literally had someone tell me, wow, I'm so glad you use your witchcraft for good because most people use it for bad. And I'm like, are you getting your information off of Disney? What other witches have you met and been talking to? Please, like, I don't know. I just think it's fascinating that people, you know, watch things like The Craft, like movies and Disney, and you know, all the tall tales of evil witches who live in the forest and eat children, you know, like, again, I don't blame them for assuming that people use witchcraft for evil because of all the things that have been taught to us. I think in the beginning, well, historically, you know, we were taught to fear witchcraft because it was Christians using fear-mongering, right? If it wasn't Christian, then it was evil. And since it was taught to us to be evil, I feel like Hollywood, you know, many, many years later, Hollywood kind of profited off of that, right? And made all these videos, like, it's like a propaganda now. It's like, oh, evil witches, like, pay money to come see this movie about evil witches. Or even like, if you're into like the paranormal community, I watch a lot of like paranormal hunters on YouTube, which I still love, right? But it's so popular to be like, oh, come to this demon house. Come to this house where people did a witchcraft ceremony and now it's evil. It's like, okay, it's like, it's clearly you're trying to just get people to watch your content. I don't know. Or maybe they really do believe that, and that's fine. They can. I just think it's funny that people utilize this idea that witchcraft is evil to make a profit. Basically, I mean, they're just trying to profit off of this stereotype of witchcraft being bad and evil, you know? Well, or like I've been asked even, don't people just use witchcraft to hurt other people? Don't people just use witchcraft to like put hexes and curses and stuff? It's like, no, no. You know, I use witchcraft to benefit me. You know, I use witchcraft to help me through my life. I just think it's funny that people think that witches use witchcraft just to hurt other people, when one of the number one codes among all witches, one of the number one like ways of living or code for all witches is just don't hurt other people, right? Unless it's justified, but I'll get to that later. You know, just don't hurt other people. You know, I'm let other people do what the fuck they want, as long as I can do what the fuck I want, you know? And I've noticed that among any kind of witch, hearth witches, pagan witches, non-pagan witches, Christian witches. It's kind of just like this theme throughout the whole community. It's like, just don't hurt others, believe what you want, leave others alone, and that's it. So the irony in the statement, people use witchcraft to hurt other people, I think it's funny. The next assumption that has been made about me is you work with Satan or you do the devil's work. Well, I'm here to say that, yeah, some witches do. Some witches do work with Satan. Some witches do his work or work with him. No one really does like serves. I've never really, even satanic witches, they don't worship Satan. No one like, that's the kind of the whole point is like, he's not expecting you to worship him. It's like the opposite of God, right? It's you work with him and he frees you, he liberates you. So yeah, there are satanic witches out there. What people have to understand is though, that still doesn't make them evil. Still doesn't. They're still not doing evil work, because here's the thing, and I know this is mind-blowing, but not everyone thinks Satan is evil. Oh my God. I know, it's crazy, you know? Again, we live in a society where even if you're not Christian, you're taught to fear the devil, you know? And some people don't even believe in Satan, right? But even people who don't believe in Satan, you still view it as a made up evil, right? You still associate it with some kind of evil. I just think it's so fascinating that even the most atheist person can think that there's no way someone could want to work with Satan. Why would they? Because even if Satan was real, he'd be evil. Do you know what I'm saying? Here to tell you that if you're one of those people, not everyone believes that. Not everyone believes that. Not everyone believes that. Some people believe that Satan is great. Some people believe that him being evil is a lie because God is the real enemy. Some people think that Satan is the king of the world and he enlightens and brings truth. So the assumption that you work with Satan or do devil's work, well, some witches do, but they don't view Satan the same way you do. Moving forward with that, no, not all witches work with Satan. Not all witches do the devil's work. Not all witches do that. There are all kinds of different witches. There are even Christian witches, okay? So not everyone works with the devil, sells their soul to the devil. You don't have to do that to be a witch. Absolutely not. You do not have to do that. Okay. The next assumption that has been made about me is you must have special magic powers that you were born with. And no, That is not what I believe about myself. Some people do, some witches do, and that's great. That's totally fine. Most witches I have met, if not all of them, definitely believe that anyone can be a witch. Anyone can do witchcraft. Anyone can do magic. Anyone can claim to be a witch. It's not about being initiated. It's not about, being hereditary. Some witches are hereditary witches, and they've had witches through the generations, and that's fucking awesome. But that's not the case with even most witches. I feel like most witches just stumbled upon it, had a calling to it, felt drawn to it. That was my case too. I left the church a long ass time ago and stopped believing in God a while ago, but I still felt the spiritual calling, and I realized that it was my inner witch like screaming to get out, and that's how I stumbled upon witchcraft and being a witch, witchery, right? Not that witchcraft or witchery in general is my religion or anything like that. I stopped being religious. I left religion for another form of spirituality, if that makes sense. I truly believe that it's in everybody, but not everyone feels called to awaken that side of them, and that's fine. This isn't for everyone. That's okay. But I really do think that anyone can be a witch. It does not matter. Another assumption that has been made about me is that I'm Wiccan. So this is a really popular misconception with people who are outside of the community looking in. They assume that, oh, we're all Wiccan. I don't know why this is. I maybe it's because Wicca is so popular. It's such a popular religion. I really don't know. I don't know why. It has to be because of the popularity behind it. Not that being Wiccan or Wicca or whatever is a bad thing. It's not a bad. I'm definitely not Wiccan. I am not a religious person. I don't like to be in an established religion at all. Not even saying that Wiccan is really that strict of a religion, but it is definitely a religion. It's definitely like you worship the god and goddess. There are ways of doing things. So, even Wiccans will say it's a nature-based religion or a fertility-based religion. But yeah, it's interesting that people will be like, "Oh, you're Wiccan. You do Wicca." It's almost like they interchange the words Wicca and witchcraft. Wicca is a religion that utilizes witchcraft. Witchcraft is just the practice itself. It's the craft of witchery. You can do witchcraft without being Wiccan. I don't think there's any Wiccans out there that don't utilize witchcraft. Maybe there are. I don't know. I got that assumption that I'm Wiccan, right? All witches are Wiccan. No. Wicca was made up. When was it? It was not that long ago. I started out my path thinking I might have been Wiccan, so I know a little bit about it, but the more I found out about it, the more I just realized it just doesn't resonate with me. So next assumption is only women can be witches. This one's interesting, and it's false. Again, I want to emphasize anyone can be a witch. Does not have to be a woman, does not have to be a cis woman. You can be trans, non-binary, you can be a cis male, you can be anyone you want, anyone you feel you are, and be a witch. Even back in the day during the Salem witch trials and things like that, there was this misconception that it was only women, which it mostly was women that were burned at the stake. But men were too. Okay, the next assumption that has been made, or that I've heard, and this isn't necessarily towards me, this was just in general, and that is black magic is evil. Lots of evil going around. You know, that's like the general theme among these assumptions. People who utilize black magic, at least from my understanding, are people who follow the left-hand path. These are called dark witches, right? It's not evil, okay? They utilize black magic, they utilize dark magic, they call themselves dark witches or on the left-hand path because they are okay with the darkness and they know that there's light within the darkness. They are okay with hexing as long as it is justified, right? So not just, oh, he didn't call me back, I'm gonna hex him. Like, it needs to be justified. At least that's what I've noticed in that corner of the community, that yes, hexing is completely okay if, again, it's justified. Also, I've noticed, like, the biggest thing too is there's no worship of anyone. I consider myself to be a dark witch. That's part of my title. Still learning a lot about it. Still learning a lot about my spiritual path. That's what I've really noticed mainly about that part of the community, is that they're okay with the darkness. They know there's light within the darkness. They're comfortable being in the darkness. They're okay using black magic and hexing when it's needed, right? Black magic can also just be shadow work. I mean, and there's no worshiping of gods or goddesses. I mean, there's nothing evil. There's nothing evil going on. There's nothing evil going on with it. So anyone else who, again, I'm new to that part of my path. So anyone else who utilizes black magic or is walking down a left-hand path, calls himself a dark witch, leave comments down below, adding any bit of information that people should know about it if you would like. I would love to know more about it as well, or if I'm, not explaining it well, please be polite and respectful. Obviously, I shouldn't even have to say that, but yeah, we would love to hear more. I would love to hear more information about it. The next and final assumption that I have gotten time after time is you put spells on people. Or they ask, well, what kind of spells have you put on people, right? Yeah, I don't really do that. Here's the thing. I'm okay with hexing if it's justified. I've said that so many times. I've never personally have had to hex anyone. Thank the universe. Thank the universe. I've never had to hex anyone. Now, can I hex someone? Do I know how to? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do know how, and I would if I felt like I had to. Just FYI. Also, yes, never had to hex anyone, but I've definitely had to use counter spells. I've definitely had to do some cord cutting. Now, that being said, have I ever put a spell on someone? Yes, I have. But it's not putting a spell on someone. It's doing spell work for someone, right? So, like, my older sister, I did some spell work for her. I gave her a witch bottle for speaking up more at work, being more confident in the workplace. I've done spell work for my husband and I for a stronger bond. I've done spell work for a friend to find more peace in her life. I mean, it's, in other words, I do spell work on people, but it's always consensual. So yeah, no, I'm not like going around putting like spells on people. That's so stupid. I'm not doing that. Anyway, guys, that's all I have. That's all I can think of, really. There's probably been more, but anyway, if you have any other assumptions I've made about you as a witch, or just funny stories about people reacting to finding out that you're a witch, leave them down below. I would love to hear it. I think it's funny. And also let me know too what else you guys want to see. I'm always interested. I've been asked before to do a few times before. I've been asked to do a Book of Shadows tour, or just showing you my Book of Shadows. I definitely have done a Book of Shadows video in the past about making a Book of Shadows. For some reason, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable to show you what's inside of my Book of Shadows. I don't know. some witches are totally fine coming on here and showing their practice through and through and showing everything, and that's totally fine. In fact, I'm so glad that that's on here for access to people, because it's a great way to learn. I just don't feel super comfortable showing you everything about my practice, and my Book of Shadows is kind of private. Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna be doing that. I don't know. I'll think about it, maybe. But anything else, leave them down below, and I'll think about doing them. If there's anything that you've been interested in seeing from the community, let me know. Okay? So anyway, guys, that's all I have for today. So until next time, I hope you stay very well. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye.